Welcome to Rauta's Festival Report about Beyond the Gates 2025, which took place the early days of August 25, respectively. Now, this time we didn't do exactly what we did last year, that is going through Greek Holland, giving a little bit of a walk around, because that's pretty much done. Now, we did have some other plans, but sometimes things don't always go as planned. So rather than showing around you the second time and all that stuff, I'm just gonna guide you through this 4 days plus one, technically speaking, 5 days of a festival, which was one again, by the way, very, very good. Some differences compared to previous years, but that's kind of bound to happen. Now, obviously, after we had already booked our flights, accommodation, and so forth, there was suddenly a fifth day, which I guess goes with the name like pre-festival day. That is this Tuesday, July 29th, which we missed due to the very reasons I mentioned. It's kind of a shame having this trio of bands mentioned. Some of my friends were able to attend, so good for them, not so much for us. For us, it started with July 30th, Wednesday, as usual, and once again it was at USF Werftet, and that's an old, if I recall correctly, sardine factory, which is more of a factory-like feeling indeed, with two halls. So between the main stage, and here it is said Hallen, the hall, and Rökeriet, which I guess goes something like smoking hall, smoking part of the factory, whatever. Anyway, it meant that with these two stages, they were able once again to, just shift in turns with the bands. And of course, you had beers between that stuff, as well as tattoo convention. Now, I once again didn't take tattoo on myself. I guess I was pretty much too busy seeing bands and friends alike. That's a big part of the charm for me anyway. Seeing a lot of like-minded people, meeting lots of old friends, meeting some new friends, some people for the first time who are more like friends of friends or whatever. So it's as much, I'll be honest with it, as much a social gathering for me as it is, seeing bands. But that would be, just half truth still, because obviously doing interviews is a big part for me anyway, traveling to festival these days, as a Rauta follower, I assume. The difference between 25 and 24 was this, whereas Wednesday and Thursday, so basically 2 first days, were at Werftet. Now it changed to Greek Holland already on day 2, and that was going through days 2 through 4, meaning Friday and Saturday as well. Greek Holland, the main concert hall, of course, the legendary place in Bergen, and only one day at Werftet. Like I mentioned, Werftet is more like club for metal kind of a thing. So the atmosphere is maybe more spot on than Greek Holland, but let's be honest about it. Greek Holland is probably the best sounding place ever I've been to any kind of a metal show, including outdoor and indoors festival. It's really that great. That is not to say that every and each of all bands, are sounding perfect, but most of them sound really good. I don't even know how shitty of a band you must be to sound like shit at Greek Holland. I am assuming it's theoretically possible, but yeah, haven't experienced that. So Werftet might have the more metallic feeling, even because, they're these big halls of factory. But in terms of sound and overall enjoyment, I would say Greek Holland clearly wins. Last year it was 2+2, and now it was only 1 at Werftet and all that stuff. Don't want to repeat myself too much, but this is what you, I guess, can assume for coming years as well. The downside of Greek Holland is there is only one stage, meaning there are no changes between the set as there is Werftet. You can see pretty much like as soon as one gig ends, like here in this case Hellbutcher, another one starts and so forth. So it's like 10 minutes changes here and there, which is very good for those who are not so much bound for alcohol or socializing, just want to see the bands. So Werftet offers more value for money in that sense. Now, that's the background story. Of course, there's a lot of other things to see in Bergen, like those magnificent mountains, and you could really take a boat trip to wherever and see fjords and whatnot. But this goes beyond the scope of this video because obviously they're not part of the festival. But Bergen is really nice city to experience, and there are already plenty of metal bars to go, like Helion, Kroken, and to a certain degree Kulturhuset goes as well, and of course Apollon, which is a combination of a record store and bar. My favorite is Helion, but that's just personal preference. But these are all part of the deal in that sense that after parties always go there, and sometimes people obviously go for their daily beers before or between the shows. Now, this is a long introduction to the whole stuff, so let's get it quickly done what was happening. The very first day after the pre-day was started with Hellbutcher, which we did our first interview as well. Mr. Hellbutcher, really nice person, and it was nice to go through his previous career with Niflheim as well as Hellbutcher with that. Unfortunately, things don't always go as planned, meaning I didn't see much Hellbutcher to go with. So, luckily, I have seen it a couple of years earlier, but seemed energetic, that little part I could witness. That was followed by Hellripper from Scotland, a kind of a upper rising name, or has been for quite some time, once again with their black and thrash or thrash black heavy, whatever you want to call it. Also interviewed them back in the days, some couple of years ago. Really nice person, the main man of the band, and delivering once again some nice energy on stage. For me, however, this was so much a nostalgia trip. I kid you not, I'm not the kind of guy who goes for nostalgia, but this time it felt like I'm totally going the different direction. Meaning, one of my favorite bands of the whole event was I Am Morbid. That is, a couple of old Morbid Angel members, including David Vincent and Commando Pete Sandoval, part of Morbid Angel, doing the first 4 Morbid Angel albums. Obviously, that was the deal here, and for me it was just like honey poured in my ear. Really nice stuff. Attic I skipped. First of all, there's a couple of reasons. Their music is close to, King Diamond kind of a stuff, which I'm not really a fan of, but not with King Diamond. So their high-pitched vocals, kind of a heavy metal, is not really my cup of tea. I don't really know how there was their show. Maybe someday I will see it, but this time I used this part as a break, because I had to see Celtic Frost. That is Triptychon performing Celtic Frost. Once again, getting very much on the nostalgia strip, especially when they were performing the first album stuff, which is, in my opinion, the best Celtic Frost ever did. I have also interviewed Tom G. Warrior of Celtic Frost in the past, as well as done my discography run with Celtic Frost, so you pretty much know my opinion about the band if you have seen it. If not, go for it. Real nice gentleman, but you kind of can feel Tom is getting a little bit old. Still, very good performance, so I guess my number 3 in that sense of the whole event. The evening was then completed by German thrash legends Destruction with 40 years of Infernal Overkill. Once again, total energy from these thrash legends, can't really bitch about it. No sound, about no sound or no performance and all. They did really well. That's another band, by the way, which I have also interviewed, so in case you're wondering why not this time, because already Hellripper, Celtic Frost, Destruction already done. I Am Morbid, unfortunately, we're not ready to do it, and Hellripper was done, Hellbutcher was done this time, so pretty nice coverage in that sense. Moving on to Thursday, then you had this day shift, which is at Kulturhuset Small Club, which is a decent venue, but not with the sound of Krieghallen, not with the stage of that. A decent place, but yeah, more for the smaller bands, which makes me wonder why Coldbrand, with having quite a few albums already, was there. They did good show, but I gotta say, Nihilum and Askeren I skipped because I was too busy doing actual work or work-related stuff nonetheless. So for my plate, the main dish was pretty much Mistturming and Paradise Lost this time, with a little bit of King Diamond in the mix. I was planned to see Lucifer, but that's where these interviews sometimes overlap, including Paradise Lost happening just when they played. We pretty much started around 18 or 10 to 7 and finished by the time Lucifer was done. My shame for not seeing them, but let's be honest about it, this kind of old school retro-ish rock is not really my cup of tea. Johanna has a great voice, and I bet these people in the band are great in live performance, but this was not the time for me. Paradise Lost interview was way more important for me. Really one of the highlights of the whole festival. It was really my pleasure to talk to Greg McIntosh, the guitar player of Paradise Lost, because I have been a fan of the band since 1993, and this show didn't let me down. First of all, the whole selection of songs were kind of like full hit on, and good sound, and overall really like, I don't know, I really loved the show, so my favorite of the whole event. For Miss Turming, I saw a few songs. I've seen them a couple of times in recent years, so didn't have to go for full experience this time. And man, they had also the sound. Good performance and really fit on the big stage. And then the evening was finalized by King Diamond as the main thing of the evening. But I gotta say, I went through the whole discography, and while I can understand their fame and success and all that stuff, it's just not my thing. But if you have the chance, go see it. The whole stage setup was really beautiful, powerful, great stuff if you like the music. And they played rather lengthy show. Then was the night shift thing, which is more like complimentary thing at Kulturhuset with Dark and Nocturne Slaughtercult. A band that I wanted to interview but wouldn't happen at this time. They are not in for video interviews, I was told. But they played a powerful show with their German, fast, intense black metal, so can't complain. I've seen them only once, and that was like 15 years ago. Then day 3, and this point we were already quite, I guess tired, so nobody really had the energy to hit for the first bands, and that's also where we started doing interviews instead. So once again, and this was exactly the same last year, and I guess year before that, the day shift is not for Rauta people, it seems, however. Anyway, that was opened at Grieghallen by Hexvessel, a Finnish band, which is more kind of a weird combination of rock and metal and beyond, post-punk even. We missed it due to interviews, so can't really comment it. Tribulation was one of the band we interviewed, actually, these afternoon hours, and it was really nice to talk to these ex-death metal, nowadays gothic guys from Sweden. Really nice guys, and they kind of show the level of professionalism, both in the interview as well as on stage, that it's hard not to enjoy them. While their newer stuff is more gothic, obviously, than their early death metal years, and even going to the levels of rock, at least these guys know what to do, even though there's a huge variety in terms of style. Then I skipped Candlemas because I've seen them a couple of years ago, not really my cup of tea. They had this special 40 Years of Doom celebration, and I guess if you're a fan of the band, obviously you should see them. But just once again, not my thing at all. Evening was finalized at Grieghallen by Opeth. Maybe they aim for a similar, big band thing like King Diamond with, really nice looking aesthetics and really great sound and feel on stage. But I already felt it after a couple of songs that, this is too proggy stuff for me. I never kind of were able to get my, hooks in the Opeth skin. I never was like, getting the feel this is my band. But I gotta say, this is something that you feel even if a band is not your cup of tea. The level of performance, how they were, prepared for the whole thing and all. So it looked and felt really good. But my ears and mine are not just cut for this kind of stuff. But once again, if you have the possibility to see Opeth with this experience and special setup, obviously you should do yourself a favor. It was clearly one of the most welcome bands of the whole event. But this is quite far from the extreme metal if you look at the whole lineup, what it was known, at least previous years in certain amount, that it's more like black metal with a little bit death metal on the side. I mean, there were like bands like D-Side last year. There is no exactly extreme metal happening here during the main stage thing at Grieghallen. Maybe things are changing. I do not know. I do not also judge. But for me, the most interesting band took place at Kulturhuset, Absu, featuring Zemiel members with the Son of the Birth 30th anniversary. This also took place at Steelfest, where I missed a show, once again with overlapping interviews and all, so now I had to see it. The sound was so good and the performance so intense, and that combining with really good songs, man, I was sold. Definitely my highlight of Friday, which was like the least interesting day for me due to the bands. Once again, it's just a matter of taste, so don't take it personally if I'm not into your bands or your favorites. And again, by day 4, Kulturhuset day shift, we were like, this is the Beyond the Gates, so you up and coming young bands, not for us. So we aimed for Helheim, once again, after the interviews done. And they played their first album, the debut album, which is my favorite of all Helheim material, with these crazy, haunting vocals, but a little bit folk in the mix with this really, good early Norwegian black metal. So, really, once again, good stuff by Helheim. That was followed by Dark Sonority, which is kind of weird. Remember when I was talking about the day 2, why Goldbrand is on day shift, and bands like Dark Sonority with their very minimal discography is here on the main stage. Doesn't make any sense to me, especially when Dark Sonority went full robes, no movement, kind of live. I mean, I get it, it's supposed to be some kind of ritual. So from artist perspective, because I've been there with the ropes, not moving much, almost statue-like presence, I get it. From artist point, it might be a really, really important thing to do, but from audience side, it was boring as hell. It's not the music, because it was actually quite good, but this kind of stuff, which is already kind of monotone with the music and all, it's not gonna cut it live when you just barely move. It's less interesting than watching those, interviews with, just talking heads and all. But musically, good, live, boring. That was then again followed by Gehenna, original lineup minus keyboard player, who couldn't participate for personal reasons. But the rest, original lineup, and focusing on the first 3 album stuff. This was very much, once again, the nostalgia trip. It was really nice to hear, with good sound, all these early material ones, and it felt good. And obviously, one of my favorite interviews which took place was with Gehenna guys after their show, during the Talk Abbath shows, and it was, I was really happy that I finally got to nail it, because Gehenna interview was supposed to happen like 2 or 3 years ago already at Steelfest, but didn't, and now it was the right time to do it, and not just 1 member as I was expecting, but 2 original ones. So really, really good stuff. I'm really proud of these guys and happy to call them my friends too. I could see, however, a little bit early parts of Talka doing the Dead Squad 20th anniversary, and once again, Talka delivering powerful live, good sound, and really intense live. Once again, good stuff. I've seen Talka so many times past 3 or 4 years that I've kind of lost a little bit interest in that sense. That is not to disrespect the band. Obviously, the band is very good live. I think it's live better than albums. But see certain bands too many times in a certain amount of time, then you kind of feel like you could live without it. But I had to see it, their play at Grieghallen, and fuck, that was so good. Maybe the best Talka stuff in that sense ever. Abbath I would have wanted to see, because that was the kind of immortal shit set happening, but I saw them last August in Finland and already pretty much figured what they're gonna do. I love Immortal, especially the old stuff, and I do like Abbath's performance. Seen them like 3 times within the past 4 years or so I know how good they are, so I didn't feel like I'm missing out, because I already know. Would have been nice to see them, but like said, sometimes interviews take place. Now, I mentioned you most of the interviews, probably forget a couple. We did one with Imhotep scene of Roy Christiansen, the guy who has been running the zine for 30 plus years, as well as Old Funeral one after the main days. So 7 interviews, we were aiming for 8. I'm pretty happy about them, especially that all the interviews were, in my opinion, very nice. The people were very supportive, friendly, professional, answering my questions with passion and interest. So I really can't complain. And like I said, Bergen is a really, really nice city. My favorite of all the Nordic countries. And I've been quite a few over the decades. So what can I say is that I'm really happy about this trip. Obviously, we had 4 days for the festival and 1 tourism day, and then half a day extra because for the airplane. Waiting for the airport and all. And what can I say is that, it felt tiresome, but at the same time, we were really happy. Oh, yes, and we did Trivax interview with the Trivax/Iblis Manifestations guy Cheyenne at my apartment, or our apartment. And that was also very nice. I'm really happy about that interview, because we went really deep outside the music and all that stuff. So really, I'm really happy what we did during this stuff, in work-wise, as well as seeing the bands, meeting friends and all that stuff. And like I said, we visited Helion, the metal bar, actually more than a couple of times, and it was nice to see friends, new and old. Once again, there with the new Helion bar, it's better than the previous one, and better location as well. Obviously, that and Kroken and Apollon are all very, very nice bars to visit. Once again, before, middle, or after the sets. So what can I say is Bergen is definitely worth visiting. Beyond the Gates is definitely one of my favorite festivals there is. However, I gotta say, being once again fully honest and not brown-nosing anybody, is that 2 previous years, 23 and 24, were in my opinion better in terms of lineup than 25. This is not to bitch or complain because, like I mentioned, there are plenty of good bands. But once again, people like me who are often going to festivals like Steelfest or Be the Gates or Inferno and so on, there are lots of bands you're gonna see many, many times. So sometimes you feel like, why I'm going to a fest when I've seen half the bands within a couple of years. This is a question you have to obviously answer yourself. If you're more like a random or more casual festival goer, then it doesn't really matter. And of course, Beyond the Gates being so great as a festival and Bergen so great as city, this is probably one of those places you'd rather go than some smaller festivals with less interesting lineups. But matters of taste and experiences and mileage may vary, so obviously you do your choice based on your taste buds, experience, money, possibility to do holidays or whatever. So who am I to tell you what you should do? This is pretty much of it. I don't know if there's some questions I didn't answer. Like I said, we did this Grieghallen walkthrough last year, so there's no point to just do it again this year. I hope for next year we're more mentally prepared to show you other places like Werftet, which we didn't, or show you a little bit of the city with, secondary cameras and all. That's something that I want to fix because, sometimes in hindsight I feel like we could have been there, we could have shown you this and blah, 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 rather than me just going through with the bands and all. But all in all, should you have any questions or comments about the festival, let me know. And if you saw me, say hi. If you didn't, well, too bad. I don't know if it's that bad. But you get the idea. Great festival, and looking forward to be the next year again if things go as planned. But it's too early to do any kind of predicts, about it. So once again, if you have any questions or comments, let me know in the comments box below, and I'll get back to you. Meanwhile, let's prepare for another festival, which is actually happening just one day after I'm doing this video. So I will be at Helsinki Metal Festival now 1 week after at Beyond the Gates. So let's talk about that, the next festival recap video. And now off you go, see more videos. Bye.